Today we got multiple new things for Realm Royale. First of all, a solo mode was released for the game, so for those of you who have been asking about that, that's out now. But not only that, Hi-Res Driver also posted a list with all the ability upgrades or ranks and what they do, and that's what we're gonna look into today. When I talked about this in my recent warrior guide, I wasn't 100% sure if all abilities just reduce cooldown when you get the more rare versions of them, being the rare version, the epic version and the legendary version. And for the warrior that's mostly true, but not completely true. For other classes that is less true, they have more benefits from ranking up their abilities. Before we go through the abilities, a quick note from Hi-Res Driver that I think is very important to point out here. He said that all abilities are subject to change and will be looked at for both balance and cool factor in the upcoming patches. And he also recently mentioned that there will be a very aggressive patch cycle coming for this game, especially in the early stages, to balance out things very, very quickly. So as such, we can expect a lot of things to be changed here over time, but that's the status for now. With that out of the way, let us start with the warrior. The warrior's shielding potion starts with a cooldown of 18 seconds, and per rank the cooldown scales down by 2 seconds to a minimum of 12 seconds cooldown at the legendary version. It doesn't tell us the shielding value here, unfortunately. As far as I know now, the shielding value is 500 according to a post on Reddit. There was no source along with that though, so we have no guarantee this is 100% right, but that's the information we have at the moment. The charge starts at a relatively short cooldown of 11 seconds and then goes down by 2 with each step, down to 5 seconds at the legendary rank. It will always deal 400 damage though. The net shot also doesn't change from its 200 damage and apparently also doesn't change in the slow intensity, and the cooldown goes down from 10 seconds to 4 seconds at legendary rank. The Flask of Healing is one of the abilities that actually gets a change in its value. The cooldown goes from 15 to 12 seconds, so 1 second per rank, and the healing goes up in HP per tick. The first tick is 10, then 13, 16 and 19. Now unfortunately we don't know the number of ticks, so that doesn't really tell us all too much. I tried to estimate the number roughly and it was around 300 at the second rank of the ability when I tried it in game. Now it lasts for 5 seconds, but it seems to be more than 1 tick per second, because otherwise those values wouldn't add up at all. I'm thinking the value might be somewhere around 20-ish ticks or a little bit more than that, maybe a bit more towards 25, though that seems to be a very fast amount of ticks for such a short duration. The Escape Heroic Leap also gets increased in multiple ways. The cooldown goes from 16 to 10 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank, but the damage on landing also increases. The first rank has 375 damage, and this goes up to 600 damage at the legendary version. This is also the only mobility ability that actually has damage attached to it. And with that, we're moving on to the Engineer. With one exception, all of the Engineer's abilities scale up not only in cooldown but also something else. The Firebomb, the first ability, scales down in cooldown from 16 seconds to 10 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank. At the same time, the damage is increased from 3% of the maximum health of the target to 6% of the maximum health of the target per tick. Now, unfortunately, once again, we don't know how many ticks this ability has from the description here. The Healing Totem goes down in cooldown quite heavily. It goes down from 20 seconds to 8 seconds at max rank, so 4 seconds per rank. The duration also increases at the same time, so this is very, very impactful, from 4 seconds to 10 seconds. So at max rank, 8 seconds cooldown, 10 seconds duration. That means obviously that the heal increases through the longer duration as well, but again, we don't have the values for the heal. The Barricade decreases in cooldown from 16 to 10 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank, and the duration increases from 4 seconds to 10 seconds, so also 2 seconds per rank. That means with a legendary Barricade, you have a 10-second duration and a 10-second cooldown. Again, unfortunately, we don't know the damage value for the Barricade to be destroyed. The Turret has a 20 seconds cooldown at the start and then goes down all the way to 8 seconds. So again, this is one of the abilities that scales down for 4 seconds per rank of the ability. The duration of the ability also is longer. At first, the turret lasts for 25 seconds. At max rank, it lasts for 40 seconds. So a 5-second increase per rank. From these stats, you can see that the engineer benefits a lot more from ranking up their abilities and getting the legendary or epic versions, as there is so much coming with it. Sometimes 4 seconds cooldown reduction and sometimes just a damage increase or healing increase. So very, very useful. The only thing that doesn't really benefit all that much is the movement ability, thrust, going down from 8 seconds to 5 seconds cooldown, so 1 second per rank, which is not all too crazy compared to the rest. The assassin also benefits in multiple ways for everything except his movement ability. The cooldown of smokescreen goes down from 12 seconds to 9 seconds, so just a 1 second reduction here, but the duration goes up from 5 seconds to 8 seconds, so a 1 second duration increase per rank here, maxed out 9 seconds cooldown reduction and 8 seconds duration, which is pretty good. The sensor drone starts at a very high value of cooldown, 20 seconds, but in the legendary version it goes down to 8 seconds, so 4 seconds per rank. The duration also increases at the same time, which goes up from 2 seconds to 5 seconds, though to be honest you will probably not often make use of that part because usually the sensor drone is kind of used like a flare. The Ghost Walk goes down in cooldown from 12 seconds to 6 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank. It also goes up in duration from 2 seconds to up to 5 seconds, so 1 second per rank. And the speed boost of the ability is also increased from 15% to up to 60%. As such, this is the only ability that actually changes in 3 different ways at once, though at the same time, in my opinion, it's still not exactly the best ability. Then there's Concussion Bomb, which goes down in cooldown from 14 seconds to 8 seconds, but also gets a pretty drastic damage increase from 150 damage to up to 600 damage, so 150 per rank. Blink, the assassin's mobility ability, actually scales up a lot more than the engineer's one, even though they're otherwise very similar in how their abilities scale. Blink starts at a 16-second cooldown and gets decreased by 4 seconds per rank, meaning at max rank this will literally be at a 4 seconds cooldown, which is pretty scary. In my opinion, the assassin class is kinda where the other classes should get to over time. Even though I don't think that all the abilities have the same value, the way that they scale up seems a lot more impactful and reasonable than some of the other classes. Now for the Mage. The Mage is interesting as is the only class that has an ability that does not get a cooldown reduction, and that is the Fireball. The Fireball always have the same cooldown, but the damage goes up from 450 to up to 900, so 150 per rank on top. As such, getting hit by a legendary Fireball from the Mage is almost the same as getting hit by the Hunter's Bow. The second ability, the Wall, decreases in cooldown from 14 seconds down to 8 seconds. At the same time, the duration goes up from 3 seconds to up to 9 seconds. 8 seconds cooldown, 9 seconds duration. Still, probably not an ability that you will value all too much, especially when you have an ability like Fireball. Explosive Flask goes down from 12 seconds cooldown to 6 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank, but the slow also increases. Slow goes from 20% to 80%, so 20% extra per rank. The lower ranks of this ability will probably not feel that impactful, but an 80% slow is something that should not be undervalued, and I'm a little bit surprised that Netshot doesn't scale in a similar way. Ice Block scales down in cooldown from 14 seconds to 8 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank, and the duration goes up from 3 seconds to 6 seconds. As you can also cancel out of this ability at any point, it makes it super unpredictable for when exactly the Mage will get out of the Ice Block. The Mage's mobility, Soar, gets enhanced in 2 ways. The cooldown gets reduced from 16 seconds to down to 10 seconds, 2 seconds per rank, and the duration increases from 3 seconds to up to 4.5 seconds, so 0.5 seconds per rank. So not only can you have increased mobility for longer duration, but it's also on a lower cooldown at the same time. Last but not least, we have the Hunter. Different from the Mage's Fireball, the Blast Shot does not get an increased damage, just to reduce cooldown. The values that are stated here are 12 seconds and 16 seconds and 12 seconds and 8 seconds. That obviously can't be right, so I tried to figure out what they could be, and based on the clips that I had, one where I had cooldown reduction through the helmet and one where I only had the legendary rank, I think it actually goes down from 12 seconds to 6 seconds. That would mean it will scale with 2 seconds, so 12, 10, 8, 6 seconds. No guarantee that's correct, that's what I was able to find out though. The next one is Flare. Flare, interestingly enough, actually changes in 2 ways. The cooldown goes down from 14 seconds to 8 seconds, so again, 2 seconds per rank, but the radius of the ability also increases. It starts at 120 units, however much that may be, then goes up to 150 units, then 180 and then 210, so 30 units per rank. Something that surprised me is that the proximity mine also changes in multiple ways. The cooldown goes down from 20 seconds to 8 seconds, so 4 seconds per rank, but the damage also goes up quite drastically. It goes up from 750 to 1200, so 150 per rank. It is noted though that the proximity mine has fall off. This happens at further ranges away from it, so you won't necessarily be hit for that full damage, but it's still worth keeping in mind that you have such a short cooldown and such a high damaging ability with the proximity mine if you can use it correctly. So while I previously would just not touch that at all, I think you should probably not ditch a legendary proximity mine if you come across one. Withdraw has a cooldown reduction from 14 to 8 seconds, so 2 seconds per rank, but the duration of the stealth that follows afterwards also increases from 1 second to up to 4 seconds. The dodge roll starts an incredibly low cooldown of 5 seconds and goes down to 2 seconds, so 1 second per rank, meaning with a legendary dodge roll you can basically just move forward rolling all the time. Driver added some little extra tips, I'm just gonna briefly mention those that refer to abilities. Concussion Bomb, the assassin's ability, launches you if you throw it underneath yourself. This can, by the way, be used to get through certain windows as well. Sensor Drone and Flare only reveal enemies to you, not to your teammates. So in that way it's different from, for example, Flask of Healing or Shielding Potion, who also affect your teammates. Blink can go through windows, most of you should probably know that by now. And the Mage's Wall will lift you into the air if you place it at your feet. Proximity Mine has fall off damage on the explosion, dealing less damage at the edges, as mentioned before. Any channeled ability, Soar or Ice Block for example, can be cancelled early by reactivating the ability. This is also known to most. Fireball travels through targets, dealing damage in a line. And last but not least, this is not about an ability but something people have been complaining about, that they're not getting enough chicken nuggets. If you have a chicken nugget already and kill a chicken, the game will attempt to give it to a teammate that assisted you with the kill if it can. So maybe worry a little bit less about others taking your kill. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was interesting and insightful. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the sub button and maybe the bell, it really helps me out. Before I go, I briefly wanted to mention that throughout the following days, I will be watching E3 with Super Teats on her channel. You can check that out, the link will be down below somewhere if you want to hang out while we're watching it. I'm also going to announce that in the community tab, so if you don't have the bell turned on, you might want to do that so you get the notification for that when it's live. Other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth, out.